All right, guys. Well, welcome to episode 5 of the Learn to Grow series that Painter Marketing Pros is conducting in tandem with the PCA. I'm Brandon Pierpont, founder and owner of Painter Marketing Pros and host of this series. So, I am extra excited for today's episode because you guys actually voted for it. So, I put a post into the PCA group about a month ago asking for feedback in terms of what kinds of topics you guys wanted to see out of the Learn to Grow series, because ultimately this really is about helping painting company owners. And overwhelmingly, you guys voted for how to convert leads at a higher rate into being customers. Right, super important topic, one near and dear to my heart for sure. Because if you're paying for leads, regardless of where those leads are coming from, and you're always paying for leads in one way or another, even if you're not using a pay-per-lead source like HomeAdvisor, you want to convert those leads. It's the best thing you can do really to grow your business is to make sure you're converting at a high rate. So today's episode is called The Biggest Marketing Issue Facing Painting Companies, Unconverted Leads. Solving this is critical to growth. So again, I always give our information in the beginning. So if you do want to reach out, you'll have it. The number for Painter Marketing Pros is 1-800-813-4385. Again, 800-813-4385. You can shoot me an email directly, brandon@paintermarketingpros.com. And then you can also go to www.paintermarketingpros.com/schedule. Again, www.paintermarketingpros.com/schedule. We'll have a brief discovery call and ultimately can conduct a free audit for PCA members where we just kind of take an overall look at your online presence and provide some great feedback. So definitely a resource I would take advantage of if I were you. Feel free to reach out directly. Now, I know this is a recording, but I do encourage you to act like it's not. Do try to not be browsing Facebook and texting and other things while you're listening, because ultimately there's going to be a lot of really important topics that we cover today. So the more you can kind of put into this, the more you'll get out of it. Today we're going to talk about why unconverted leads are really the biggest long-term threat to growth for your painting business. Right now there are obviously a lot of things going on in the market. There's a labor shortage, there's a supply shortage. So a lot of, near-term threats, but the biggest long-term threat, with the exception perhaps of having a negative reputation. Obviously, if you provide a very bad service and develop a negative reputation, that is a very problematic thing for your business. But aside from that, if you're unable to convert leads at a high rate, that is going to throttle your growth tremendously. We're also going to cover some surprising statistics that demonstrate just how important some of the follow-up is, and some other things that we'll discuss, and how with a few not major tweaks but some changes to your company, you can really see your conversion rate really increase tremendously. And then we'll walk through our process for converting more leads and making marketing efforts more impactful. And we also will actually have a special offer at the end, which I think you guys will find very enticing. So who am I? Why should you listen to me? So I grew and sold a successful service-based business using my marketing knowledge prior to going full-time into digital marketing. Industry partner of the PCA. I ran a successful generalist marketing agency before launching Painter Marketing Pros. Painter Marketing Pros works exclusively with painting contractors, so we have far deeper industry expertise than do other agencies. I'm host of this series, obviously, but also of the Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast, where we interview $1 million and up in annual revenue painting company owners about what they do right and lessons from them. And we use a 100% US-based team with highly qualified personnel. This allows us to provide superior marketing results than can a lot of other agencies. So what are the biggest challenges when it comes to marketing? Right? And I want you to take a second and actually think about that. When it comes to your marketing, whatever your company is doing, everyone is doing things a bit differently. We preach the digital dominance method of being really everywhere that your prospects may look. But for some companies, especially smaller companies, that's not always feasible. right? So with whatever you're doing with marketing, what are the challenges? If you're using a paper lead site, like Home Advisor or Thumbtack or CraftJack or any of these, or if you're relying on Yelp, maybe it's quality of leads, right? Maybe you just feel that you're getting enough leads, but ultimately they're tire kickers, or their job is very small, or they're just not they don't pick up the phone, right? Something like that. Maybe it's that you're not getting enough leads. I think right now, at least, it is end of August 2021 when I'm recording this. That hasn't been a big problem for a lot of painting company owners. The demand has been pretty out of control over the last few months, throughout the summer. But that might change, right? The world is really evolving. The COVID situation is evolving, and slow season is approaching. So maybe it's not enough leads. Does whatever your main problem is, does that change throughout the year? And if it does, are you predicting it, right? And can you get ahead of it? So it could be that you feel that you don't have enough leads coming in which case you need to figure out how to increase that, right? And potentially put more money in a really focused way. Never just throw money at marketing. It's a terrible idea. But put more money behind your marketing efforts, right? Or maybe just figure out where you're wasting money currently and kind of not necessarily use more money, but maybe funnel that money in a different direction, right? Make sure for whatever marketing you're doing, make sure that you always know the ROI, the return on investment. Make sure you know how much money you're spending per channel. If you're paying Home Advisor or Angie, I guess now $500 a month, know how many leads are coming in for $500 a month. Know how many of those leads you're converting. Know what you are paying, what the average ticket value, how much revenue you are making on average per job that comes through Angie. Know that for every one of your channels. If you're paying for SEO, how many companies are finding you organically online, right? Or how many people are finding you organically online? And when they book, what are they tending to buy? So make sure you have all your key performance indicators, your KPIs dialed in, because that is really the only way to market effectively. If it's low lead quality, I think that's what we're going to talk a lot about that today, because there are bad leads. I'm 100% not denying that. I think it is a big problem with a lot of pay-per-lead sites like Angie and Thumbtack and CraftJack, and it works for some companies in some areas. Yelp, is notorious for this. But having leads that come through that are really not your ideal customer, they're the tire kickers. They don't want to spend money. They're cheap. They say that they want you to paint an exterior, and you go out and they're asking you to paint their front door, right? And that's it. So you run into a lot of issues like this, and so there is a low lead quality concern, but there's also a conversion concern, and that's what people tend not to realize. They tend to always blame the lead quality for everything, and sometimes actually a lot of the problems on the conversion. So kind of get into that. Is your lead cost too high, right? If you're paying, you obviously need to know generally what you're paying per lead. And that's easy when you're paying a pay-per-lead source, Thumbtack. If they charge you $80 for that lead, then you paid $80 for the lead. It's pretty straightforward. But if you are using a marketing agency and let's say you're paying them a management fee and they're also running Google Ads, make sure you're factoring in that management fee to your cost per lead. Don't just attribute it to the ad spend. If you're doing search engine optimization, which is a longer term strategy but extremely effective, highly recommend, if you're not doing it, that you do it if you plan to grow over the next few years. Make sure you're keeping track of how much money you've put into it and ultimately the number of leads you're getting out, right? It is a longer term strategy, but you still need to track it. And ultimately, if you're paying too much per lead, and then if you factor on this concern that you're not converting a high percentage of those leads, then of course you're going to have a low return on investment, right? Unless your average ticket value, your average sales value is just through the roof, and maybe you're only converting 10 or 20% of the leads that come into your world, and you're paying $100+ per lead, but every lead you convert, maybe you're a commercial painter and they're $50,000, $100,000 jobs. Well, obviously that would be a fantastic ROI, right? The $100 would not really make a lot of sense there, but I think you understand my point. if you're paying too high a cost for your leads and you're not converting high, you almost certainly have a low return on your investment. And then make sure you have the ability to track your return on investment, right? You need to know, and not just in general, not just, well, we spent $4,000, we did Angie, and we did some Facebook ads, and I think the agency we're working with, I think they ran Google ads, and we did a direct mail campaign, and yeah, we basically got 8 jobs, I think, from all that stuff. That's a problem, right? And that's how we hear a lot of painting company owners talk about it, because then you don't know what's going on. You don't really know what's going on. You know the amount of money you're putting into it and the amount of money you're getting out of it, which is good, but you don't know the channels. So there could be all of those 8 jobs could have come through Facebook ads, meaning you could just really stop wasting money, or figure out why you're not getting results with the Google ads and the direct mail and every other thing that you're doing netted you zero results. So what was the problem? Were you not getting the leads? Or were you getting the leads and then they just were bad leads? Or were you getting the leads and then you weren't following up on them for a day, or half day, and you were kind of losing the leads? For those of you who use these pay-per-lead sites like Home Advisor, now Angie, if you don't follow up on those leads for a day, you're not going to get that job. That's pretty much guaranteed, right? So I shot a live video on this somewhat recently, but based on the lead source, based on where your lead is coming from, there's certain fundamental, truths or concepts that are pretty much always applicable to any lead. You always do want to try to respond in a timely fashion as quickly as possible. You always do want to, make sure you're presenting a professional appearance, but that speed to response, I would say, is the most critical when the lead is being sold to multiple companies, like it is with these pay-per-lead sites, because at that point you're a commodity. And if you're not there first, you're most likely not going to get that job. All right, so make sure you're tracking your ROI by channel, and don't just assume that if the ROI is low for a channel, well, that channel just won't work for you. Figure out if maybe something's going wrong, right? Maybe the agency that's running the ads isn't getting you the leads, but maybe they're not the right agency to do it. Or maybe they're getting you the leads, but the follow-up process isn't there. So the leads are sitting there. They're filling out a web form and no one's responding to them for a day. Right? So figure out what's going on. There are a lot of options. A lot of painting company owners can kind of feel overwhelmed. This is where I was actually for quite a few years back when I first got into marketing. I was sort of overwhelmed myself running an auto detailing business. So my approach ended up being to learn everything, but it's typically not the approach that most owners are going to take. I was just kind of naturally interested in this stuff anyways. But there are a lot of options, right? And if you throw money at all of the options and you're not tracking, then you're just going to waste a lot of money. So we've talked a lot about, tracking the ROI and really being calculated in your investment. And so here on this slide, we have a few of the more common options. We have SEO tied to the website. People go to the website through Google ads as well, through the pay-per-click ads. Home Advisor, Thumbtack, all the other similar pay-per-lead sites. Google local service ads is not as big for painting. Referrals, of course, is huge, and it's something we've talked a lot about, and how to actually make that an active and not a passive process. But there are a lot of ways to get people, and Facebook's not even up here on the slide, but Facebook, there are a lot of ways to get people into your ecosystem, into your door. What happens next is a big part of where you can differentiate yourself, because a lot of painting companies are not doing this well. They're not converting at anywhere near the rate that they can and should be converting. So again, this digital dominance method, I show this every episode. I am a very strong believer in the concept that you do need to be everywhere your prospects are looking ultimately. Again, if you're a smaller company, you might kind of have to pick and choose at this point. But ultimately, you need to have a website that's optimized so that if people are searching for painter near them, best painter Nashville, anything in those terms, you want to be at the top and implicitly recommended, tacitly, basically recommended by Google. Review management, reviews are king. Make sure you're having 5-star reviews everywhere, Google in particular. Pay-per-click, running Google ads. I've touched on this. We did an episode on it. A lot of people have kind of viewed pay-per-click and Google ads as a black hole. but that is because of how they conducted it. Typically, it is really rarely conducted the right way, and the result is rarely a black hole if it's conducted the right way. Retargeting, this is just targeting your people who have been to your website using a Facebook pixel, for example. You follow them around, and they see you on Facebook, they see you on Google. It's the cheapest, most effective form of advertising possible, but you do need to be running paid ads to do retargeting ads. Paid directories, this is some of these pay-per-lead sites and Yelp and things like that. Repeat and referral. This is where email marketing, social media, effective direct mail campaigns, a lot of things can actually greatly increase your referral business, really over 100% per year, whereas people think it's just kind of a passive strategy. And if they do a good job, they'll get recommended, and that's true, but only to a point. Right? People aren't elephants. They're not always thinking about your painting company. They forget. And then social media ads, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, very, very effective, we found, in the painting space. But I would say the most persistent challenge, and really oftentimes overlooked challenge, so I was actually surprised and pleasantly surprised to see the very positive feedback to this idea of covering how to convert at a higher rate in the PCA post, because a lot of painting contractors don't really talk about not converting. It's always, well, the leads are bad. Well, those leads are terrible. They don't pick up the phone, or there are already 7 contractors who bid them, or they just go with the lowest guy and always get undercut, right? But there's a lot you can do about that. It doesn't have to just be, well, that's just the way it is, and I either reduce my prices or I'm only going to land 10 or 20% of the jobs, right? So very excited to cover this. So 50 to 60%, and really typically much higher with some of the stuff like Angie, but 50 to 60% of inbound leads leave unconverted. So this means, somebody who submitted a request for an estimate, who maybe called up your company, maybe they came through a Google ad or Facebook ad, came directly through your website, maybe you showed up in a map pack in Google My Business and they called you directly from looking on their phone. However they got to you, you lose over half of those people, which already is a huge problem, right? When someone comes to you, the process needs to be so professional that you're not losing over half those people. And that is twofold. It's about bringing the right people into your ecosystem, which branding, how you advertise. There's a lot about, what lead sources you're relying on primarily to bring in those quality customers who are willing to pay a little bit more for premium service. So that's ultimately what we're trying to do. We're not trying to just be the cheapest painting company on the block. And then 90%, this statistic is insane to me, 90% of web forms fail to convert. So most well-built, if your painting company's website has been built in the last 10 years, I hope that you have a web form, some opportunity for people to be able to request more information or say what project they have or whatnot. 90% of those are not converting. So people are taking the time to enter their personal contact information, to explain what they want, and only 10% of those people are actually becoming customers. That's insane to me. So hopefully you guys can kind of see that number. To me, when I first looked up that statistic, that just was mind-boggling. I could not believe it, but upon further reflection, it makes sense. And so the reason why you have 50 to 60% of all inbound leads going unconverted and 90+% of web form leads going underconverted is the biggest reason is the slow response time. So leads that are not followed up within 15 minutes go cold. That lead is technically cold. So you have had someone who came into your world and they liked you enough to reach out proactively to you, or maybe through a site you were given the opportunity to bid on the job, or however they got there. They came into your world and they were your customer, or they were very likely to become your customer. And then through waiting over 15 minutes, you go from this position, and this is especially true if they came through for just you. It's not a pay-per-lead site, but they came through SEO, found you on Google, or through a paid ad of some kind, and they came directly to you. You had them, you just needed to woo them, and then now after 15 minutes, you basically have to win them again. So it goes from being a customer that you had and you just need to close, a prospect that's on the brink of becoming a customer to instead basically just a semi-warm prospect that you need to basically call and almost make it right? Because it took over 15 minutes. And 15 minutes, it's not a long time. A lot of painting contractors, they say, well, I get right back to them. And when we kind of dig a little bit deeper, we realize, well, that sometimes can mean they call them at lunch. Or sometimes can mean they call them the next available opportunity, whatever that means, right? Or, well, it was a little bit later, so they just call them the next day. You're going to miss a lot of opportunities with that kind of mentality. The average customer must be followed up with 5 to 7 times before booking. So again, a concept we've covered pretty extensively before. Painting is a want, primarily, not a need, right? Plumbing, electricians, things like that, roofing, your roof is leaking, and, those things are needs. You don't really care who does it. It just needs to get done. Painting is largely a want. It's ego-driven. There's a lot on the line in terms of appearance. It is really largely specific to taste, and preference. So you have to touch customers more times to get them to trust you, right? And to get them to ultimately make what is a very big investment for a lot of people. If it's near a $10,000 or over a $10,000 purchase, you don't make those every day, right? So you do need to really foster that trust and that brand awareness and touch people multiple times to get them to pull the trigger on something like that. And then today's consumers, they really like text messaging, and that's become a bigger thing. I know Thumbtack uses it a lot. Facebook chatbots have become a bigger thing, but the more you can kind of lean into that, email is something to make sure you're using to be holistic, but really people are rarely responding to that. So when a lead is coming through, whether it's through a lead form on your website, whether it is through HomeAdvisor or Yelp, whether it is through some Facebook ad and they filled out the lead form there and you got the information. However you're getting the information for a prospect, you really should be having text messages go out to them immediately, right? So we're going to get kind of into the automations and how you make that possible and what we do momentarily, and I think it'll make a lot of sense. But consumers really prefer text message versus phone or email. So the solution is you need to leverage marketing automation to follow up with web forms. So web forms specifically, right? We know that 90+% of those are not converting. So you need to follow up with automation to have a text message sent out to the person who submitted that form, because you're going to get their phone number. You should be getting their phone number as part of your web form within 2 minutes, right? Ideally, really within a minute. It needs to be almost instantaneous. And then an email as well, and really an automated phone call if you can, and we'll kind of get into what that looks like. But at a bare minimum, make sure that within that first 2 minutes, ideally 1 minute, you're having automated text messages go out. And then once they've given you that information, well, you now have the ability to automate follow-ups, right? So you can now nurture them until they do actually book that free estimate or whatever it is you're offering, right? And maybe it's not a free estimate, maybe it is. Most of you do offer free estimates. So until they book that free estimate, you're kind of going to touch them again and again and again. Not in an obnoxious way, but in, hey, I saw you fill out the information, just wanted to see if there's anything I can help you with, right? And a couple of touch points so that you are touching them those 5+ times that you need to get them to trust you enough to take action. So here is some simple math that kind of shows the importance of conversion. Let's say you have 40 leads coming in a month. 40 is a reasonable amount. Hopefully you have even more than that through all your different channels, but let's say it's 40, and your conversion rate is 20%, which for some of you that will seem remarkably low. For some of you that would seem kind of high. If that seems high, then I'll tell you that you need to get your conversion rate higher for sure. And then you don't have any follow-up, and so you just kind of try to land them when they come in. Maybe you try to get to call them right away. That's what a lot of people do, just try to call them right away and just sort of see what happens, right? So let's say you can land 8 of those jobs. So 40 leads come in, you have the 20% conversion. So you're basically able to land 8 jobs. Let's call it the average ticket value, your average sales value per job at $5,000. So 8 jobs times $5,000 gets you to $40,000. So $40,000 in revenue puts you at a little under $500,000 a year, right? With your 40 leads a month. Now let's say you actually have automated follow-up and you still get those 40 leads, but now your conversion rate, rather than being 20%, because you're reaching out to them through multiple different mediums immediately and you're following up in a non-intrusive but helpful way, you increase your conversion rate to 50%. Well, now with the same 40 leads, those same bad leads, whether they were or are not, you're now going to book 20 jobs, right? And so you have 20 jobs. Let's assume the same $5,000 average ticket value. That's $100,000. So that's $1.2 million per year. So going from 20% conversion rate to 50% with 40 leads a month, you went from being at just under $500,000 a year to $1.2 million. You over doubled your business. That's the power of this stuff. That's the power of automation. That's the power of putting the processes in place to make sure you're fully capitalizing on the at-bats that your painting company has with prospects, right? Of not taking it for granted and really making sure that you're touching them at the right times in the right ways and that your staff isn't crushed trying to do it. Because as you grow, no one person is going to be able to touch every prospect at exactly the right time manually. You won't. And you might feel like you are, but I can assure you that you are not. That there's opportunity being left on the table. So if you're able to put the systems in place, the automations in place to increase your conversion rate, to have every lead that comes through much more likely to become a paying customer, it's making your leads more valuable. So you don't even necessarily need to get more leads to greatly grow your business. You just need to close more of them. And it doesn't mean that you need to become some master salesman. You just might need to put the automations in place so that people are touched the right way, the right times, right? And that they feel taken care of. And it really takes it off your plate, which is huge. So I'm going to go through a few points here of some things that have kind of changed recently that are just really important things I want to touch on. So number one, engage how your customers want to engage. Statistics, and this is, again, another surprising fact, at least for me. Statistics have shown that 98% of all text messages are opened. 98. I don't know what exact percentage of emails open, but I know it's not 98%. It is a heck of a lot lower than that. And 95% of text messages are opened and responded to within 3 minutes of being delivered. We are programmed to respond to text messages. We feel rude if we don't, right? If someone texts you, it's typically friends or family who text you. So we're just naturally conditioned to respond. Whereas anyone's calling you, a lot of times we won't answer numbers from, phone calls from numbers that we don't recognize. We've been bombarded with emails and email marketing for 20 plus years. So we've learned to largely tune emails out, but not text messages, right? So text messages sent in a professional way tend to get responded to. And what's more is that U.S. consumers are 5 times more likely to send and receive text messages than phone calls. So I still believe in the power of phone calls. I think getting people on the phone is important. But if you want to get that response, if you want to get people actively engaging with your company, you must make texting a component of your outreach, right? And it must be immediate when those leads are coming through the door. So number 2 is this speed to response. So following up quickly. Again, leads that are not followed up within 15 minutes, go cold, right? So calling them at lunch or the next day or when you get the opportunity, that lead is now cold. This statistic is mind-blowing to me. A follow-up within 5 minutes is 21 times more effective than calling after 30 minutes. That is mind-blowing. If you follow up within 5 minutes, you're 21 times more likely to get that customer than if you follow up after 30 minutes. The difference in most people's minds, if you call 5 minutes after or 30 minutes after, is not huge. You know it's better to call 5, but I would not have thought it's 21 times better. And after 5 minutes, so 5 is really your cutoff, 1 to 2 is really where you need to be. After 5 minutes, the odds of you qualifying a lead, the odds of you basically converting a lead drop by 80%. And then another very important statistic on this slide, for a lot of you use these pay-per lead sites that they sell the lead to a lot of companies at the same time, right? That's their revenue model. That's how they monetize it. And ultimately, they don't really care whether you close it as long as you keep paying them. 50% of leads go with the vendor that responds first. So if that lead is being sold to 6 painting companies, 50% of the time, the one painting company that replied first is going to get it. That is insane. So, think about what your process is. And if your process is that you see it come through on your phone and you pick it up and dial your phone, you're still probably not going to be the first response. If you don't have automations, somebody does have automations and they're beating you there. So it's just important to realize no matter how fast you think you are, if you don't have it being done for you, you're not as fast as you could be doing, as you could be. Number 3 is leverage automation. So the ideal outcome, again, I've been talking about 2 minutes, 1 minute, but every lead gets an email and a text message within 30 seconds of submission, and then a call from someone at your company at most within 5 minutes, really within 2 minutes, but at most within 5 minutes they get a call. But they've already been texted and they've already been emailed. Because what's happening is, unless you already have a very strong brand image in your market, unless someone really knows that they want to work with, Ross Painting, they're just viewing you as a painting company, as a commodity, right? And if you don't get back to them, especially if they're on your website and they submit something, or if they send you a text or do a chatbot on Facebook or however you get their information, if you don't get back to them right away, they're just going to move on. It's no big loss to them. All they care about is getting their work done, right? They just want to get the job handled by someone who's going to do a good job. Now, if you've really branded yourself really, really well over a period of years, well, then you can get to the point where they do care actually about working with you. And that's when you're really that 100-pound gorilla in the market. But for most painting companies, that's unfortunately not going to be the case, right? And so you do have to stand out and you do have to be fast. And then every lead that's followed up with, you need to make sure it's followed up with at least 7 times, right? Because a lot of prospects, what we found is they need to be touched 5 to 7 times to convert before they ultimately become a customer. So if someone comes through, and I hear this a lot, I hear, well, we get leads from Home Advisor and I call them and they don't pick up. And sometimes I'll call 2 or 3 times and they don't pick up, right? And yeah, some leads are bad that you get there, but I call them and then I'll try them again later in the day. There's 2 times that you tried, right? But no text message was sent, no email was sent. So you need to make sure that this person's being touched again and again and again. And you would be amazed by how many times somebody will, a week and a half later, after they submitted the web form or however they came into the ecosystem, just reply back to one of the text messages and be like, yes, I'd like to set up my estimate. Thanks for reaching out. And it's the 4th text message they've received. And they didn't respond to any of the previous 3. It's just, if you set it up the right way, at the right cadence, not in a, hey, you obviously don't want to be rude or obnoxious, get blocked. But if you set it up with the right messaging and the right cadence, people come through. And that person would have been lost if it was, well, I called them right away, and then I called them again later in the day, and then I tried again the next day, and they never answered, so they were a bad lead. Well, it was more a bad follow-up, right? Sometimes people do submit things, but then for whatever reason, they're just not ready to close right then. So having that automation in place allows you not only to get to them first, it allows you to stay in front of them. Now, for your own painting company, I just want you to kind of think about what your process looks like. What happened? Where are you getting your leads? Where are you getting them? And for every different channel that you have, what's your process? What's your follow-up? How are you converting them? If you're losing them, why do you think you're losing them? Right? Kind of think about that and think if you had a system that followed up with them all basically instantaneously, via text and then an email, and then you were able to, continue to follow up with them in a non-intrusive way over the next couple of weeks, 7 or more times. so that they continue to see you being helpful and having varying messages, do you think that would help your business? Right? Would it be an improvement upon whatever your current process is? So there's a quote. I'm a big student of marketing. I really like direct response marketing. And Dan Kennedy is a big figure in the space. And he said, the business that can spend the most to acquire a customer wins. Right? So whatever business has the biggest marketing budget, who can spend the most money to get that customer wins. Well, ultimately, who can spend the most money on marketing? Who can spend them? Obviously, if you're a bigger company, you could spend more money. But if two companies are the same size, the company that converts at a higher rate can spend more money, can spend a lot more money to get those leads to come in because they're going to convert more of the leads. You don't get money from a lead, right? You get money from a booked job. You get money from a customer. A lead is not worth anything in and of itself. The only thing that's worth anything is a customer. So a company that is the same size, company A and company B, if company A is converting at 20% and company B is converting at 50%, then company B can spend a lot more to get a lead than can company A. And so company B can get a lot more leads because they're converting them, right? So it's just an important concept to really understand because it makes every lead that comes into your ecosystem more valuable. Okay, so how can you implement this in your business? So I'm going to walk through. We've been doing this for a while, right? It's typically part of our standard service offerings that we offer our customers. I'm going to kind of walk through how some of this works. So in this slide, there's an example of basically a landing page or a website. Depending on what you're running. If you're running Google Ads, make sure you're using a landing page. If you don't know what I'm talking about or why that matters, then I would encourage you to watch the episode on PPC that we did for the Learn, Do, Grow series, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But people are going to come to a website or a landing page, and then you're going to have a form there. We call it a smart form, so your web form, right? And they're going to fill out information, their name, email, phone, maybe where they're based, depending on how detailed your form is, and then essentially what they're looking for, what kind of project they have. Right, and then ultimately get sent to a thank you page or have a thank you message or however your form is handled when they submit. What we do is we actually send them to a thank you page, and typically we'll have a video on that page of the owner talking because you're already pre-selling them. Right, they're used to you fill out the form and then it says thank you, your form's been submitted. Someone will contact you, right? Something along that, but that's really impersonal, and that's what every form everywhere says. It doesn't mean anything. But if you get them redirected to a page and it's the owner speaking directly to them, like, hey, thank you so much for taking the time to fill out our form. Really means a lot to us. I just want to let you know a little bit about Ross's painting, XYZ, right? And now you're kind of pre-selling that customer and you're already standing apart. But when a customer fills out that form, for us, we then have them automatically getting texted, right? We then have them automatically getting emailed, and now they're in this nurture sequence. We actually do something on top of that, which we found pretty impactful, is we actually have them automatically get called as well. So we will have it's a feature we call Quick Connect, and it will actually call up whoever is the designated salesperson at our client's company. It actually calls their phone automatically, right? And it's an automated message. They pick up, and it says, a new lead has come through. Press 1 to be connected. They press 1, and they're actually, from the lead's perspective, they just got a call from the salesperson or owner or whoever is responsible for handling incoming leads at that company. They just got a call from that person within 30 seconds. So that's the gold standard, right? You're getting a text, you're getting an email, and you're getting a call all in under 1 minute. And then if you don't pick up, if you don't reply, you're going to just be followed up with because now you're in a nurture sequence, right? So it's the gold standard of marketing automation. And so on this slide, we actually walk through, we use AI, so artificial intelligence. So this is where it gets really, really fun. So you get a text message or an email, right? In this example, hi, Jason, this is actually from Perfect Painting. Thank you for reaching out to us via the form on our site, right? Because we would tailor it to however they reached out. We're talking about a smart form here. Would you like to schedule a time for your free estimate now? That's sent by a text, and then a very similar message is sent by email. Well, we have AI in place that can actually determine the intent of the response, whether it was positive or negative. If the response was positive, then they get a follow-up message or email, something along the lines of, hey, great, simply click below to choose the time from our calendar, and then the calendar link, and we look forward to serving you, right? And then you take them down that, again, down that path. If they say no problem, our team will contact you shortly, or feel free to call us directly at XYZ number with any questions you might have. Right, so they're still getting a direct response, and now they're interacting, and no one from your team has touched anything. Hopefully, whoever's responsible for talking on the phone, hopefully they picked up the automated call. Hopefully they connected, so hopefully they did do that part. It's not all of our clients do it, but the majority of them do, and it helps. But either way, they're not having a conversation, and you still haven't used any manpower. And so the prospect is feeling really well cared for. Feels like your company is really on top of it, and you are not being bogged down or feeling behind with being on top of your leads, or feeling like you need to just stare at your phone or your computer all day in case a lead comes through, right? So it takes a lot of work off your plate while greatly increasing conversions. Okay. And then they go to once they've basically accepted, once they've said yes, and they click on that example link, because then we send them a link to the calendar. It will then take them to the booking calendar that is synced up with your team's calendar, and essentially allows them to set an estimate. And then it actually sends them an automated, again, SMS and text. Thank you for scheduling your appointment. One of our team members will contact you shortly to confirm some details. And it actually gives them the automated date and time of the booked estimate. So really, really cool stuff, really dialed in. And then on the company's internal side, when someone comes through the, again, kind of sticking to smart forms here, you're getting internal notifications. Right? So it says, hi, Jason has submitted a smart form, has his email, has his phone number. And then what he said, I would like a quote to paint the full exterior of my house, but they have not yet booked an appointment, right? And then if Jason does book an appointment, like, hi, Jason just booked an appointment. Again, we'll have his contact information and the appointment date and time, right? So then someone on your team is ultimately going to call Jason, confirm, right, and make sure that that's set up completely. But you can see how this system, it basically takes these leads that they're not all bad. Some of them are bad, some of them aren't bad. But we have this tendency to think, well, these leads are bad leads. But really, there's bad converting going on. There's bad follow-up. There's bad slow response time, and some bad leads. So what you're doing is any leads that are not bad, you're very likely to close because you're just in front of them, right? And you're just immediately in front of them. And you can do this no matter what the leads come through, right? So they can come through Home Advisor, Yelp, Google, Thumbtack, however they come, all these different sources, you're still able to deploy this funnel, which is a really, really cool thing. We're able to sync it up with a bunch of different sources. I'm not going to get crazy technical here, but it's cool stuff. It's cool tech, and it works very well in the real world. So a couple of sort of follow-up points here, some of the more important statistics that we covered. Leads that are not followed up within 15 minutes, go cold, right? You now have someone who wanted to do business with you, and now you need to win them back. A follow-up within 5 minutes is 21 times more effective than calling after 30 minutes. That is a mind-boggling statistic. 50% of leads go with the vendor that responds first. To me, that is also mind-boggling. It's 50%. Right? So it's not always, well, some guy came in after you and undercut you. If half of them are going with the first person to respond. And then statistics have shown that 98% of all text messages are open, and 95% of text messages are opened and responded to within 3 minutes of being delivered. We are just programmed to respond to text messages. So we do. So using it from marketing your painting company and using it as a way to communicate professionally with your prospects is very important. So you have to kind of think, if you were to input these systems, if you were to kind of set all of this up, would it help you make more money? Would it help you convert more of your leads and grow your business? I think obviously if you don't have this stuff set up already, I think that's a very clear yes. So another reason I was really excited about this episode in particular is because we just made a big decision as a company to actually release a new offering. So that largely solves the pain point of conversion for companies. So we have an internal system, that we use that helps our clients convert at a very high rate, and it is one of our, one component of our secret sauce, so to speak. Right? We have a lot of things that we do differently that we find work exceptionally well, but this is definitely one of the important pieces. Is basically automating a lot of this follow-up, and we have campaigns and things that we build for our clients. But we recognize that a lot of painting companies maybe don't have a full budget for, to really fully invest in the marketing the way that they want to right now. Maybe only making a couple $100,000 or, not even at that $500,000 mark at this point, and a full marketing budget's a little out of the picture. So given how much excitement there was around this idea of conversions and how well we've solved it internally, I made a decision to roll it out and offer it externally. So we are offering, it's a software as a service. We're calling it Home Pro Conversion. It is all about maximizing your conversion. So the leads that you're getting from Home Advisor, from Yelp, from if you're running Facebook or Google ads, from your website, web forms, through SEO, however those people are coming into your ecosystem, we're actually able to basically take that information, input it into our software automatically using webhooks, and then implement all these cool features to where you're immediately connected, or your salesperson, whoever's on your team, immediately connected via phone. Immediately sending out SMS and emails. And then if you're not able to connect immediately to new leads, you actually can take advantage of our nurture campaign, custom tailored for your business. So to where if they don't answer or respond to your text or email right away, but they've come into your ecosystem, somehow they've given you their information, you can actually follow up with them in a really professional way until eventually you can actually set that estimate. Right? And then after you set the estimate, we actually help you nurture the estimate. So basically pre-sell your painting company through sending information, reviews. We have a script that we recommend owners create a video, and we can upload that video, custom video, kind of guaranteeing the work, talking about the company and the owner, before and after photos, everything to kind of pre-sell the customer so that when you go out and provide an estimate, you're not just, company X and there's company X, Y, and Z. You're Jones Smith Painting and then there's company Y and company Z. Being different, having the prospective customer already know, like, and trust you. So super excited to offer this as a service externally for the first time using our CRM system that we use. We're rolling out what I believe is an insanely low rate for the value that you get. If you just close just one more customer per month, you're already going to make way more. But we're rolling it out for $397 a month with a $199 setup onboarding fee. Right, so the $199 onboarding fee. But we're going to waive that onboarding fee through the end of September for people who come through this channel. So for painting companies who come through this Learn to Grow series, you can use the discount code PCA conversion, and we'll actually waive that $199 setup fee. So if you go to www.paintermarketingpros.com/homepro-conversion, again, that's www.paintermarketingpros.com/homepro-conversion. You can see more details about our software. You will get access to all of these nurture campaigns. As part of the onboarding, we'll actually custom tailor it to your company, to your business, with your reviews, your video, if you're willing to shoot a video, willing and able, but we'll help you with that. Your before and after photos, we'll custom tailor everything to make sure it's specific to your company. And then you actually will have the ability to move prospects through this CRM and have all these automated campaigns go out. And I think it's going to be an absolute game changer for those of you who don't already have systems and automations in place, who are finding that a lot of leads kind of fall through the cracks, or maybe you as the owner are feeling like you're juggling a lot, you have a lot on your plate, and you're just not getting to everything, or you're struggling to get the 5-star reviews. You ask the customer for the review, but they rarely leave it. We found a lot of success in getting the reviews because we have a review generation system that's part of this process. So I think it's going to be an absolute game changer. It will include an app, the Home Pro Conversion app for iOS and Android. 1 hour dedicated support and training. We can parse in leads from all over, from HomeAdvisor, Yelp, Facebook, etc. Your website, we can bring them all in. And then you will automatically get future updates to the automated sequence, right? So I am beyond excited. I think this is an absolute game changer for the industry. And if you go to, again, www.paintermarketingpros.com/home pro conversion, you can actually demo it. So there's a little button you can demo it and just kind of see how it works. You'll only see the front end. You're not going to see the kind of the nurturing and the review generation and everything else. But if you put in your name and your phone and your email, you'll at least get sort of a taste of how this works. So super, super excited. Again, this is Brandon with Painter Marketing Pros. You can reach out to me. You can call our company 1-800-813-4385. Again, 800-813-4385. You can shoot me an email directly, brandon@paintermarketingpros.com. And then you can visit our website, www.paintermarketingpros.com. If you want to schedule a call with us, a discovery call, you can go to www.paintermarketingpros.com/schedule. And again, if you want to check out this new software that we are releasing for the first time publicly, you can go to www.paintermarketingpros.com/home pro conversion. Thanks so much. Very excited for the workshop this month. If you want to learn more about how this might be applicable to your company or talk through some things that you've tried, hopefully you're able to make it. Very excited.